Welcome back, capital F football fans, to the O&O Sports YouTube channel. Today we are going over our previews and predictions for what should be one of the best weeks of the year. It is rivalry week, folks, and get hyped. It's gonna be great, and we're down to the last week of the 2024 regular season. It has really flown by, but as always, be sure to like and subscribe. And just as a reminder, we have our $100 giveaway going for the season. If we don't have a miraculous week this week, we will be giving away $100 to one of our followers next week, so be sure to follow us on our social medias for a chance to win. And without further ado, let's jump into some games to watch, starting with the game for Paul Bunyan's Axe, Minnesota at Wisconsin. Both of these teams are looking to bounce back from losing streaks. Minnesota with 2 losses in a row and Wisconsin with 4 in a row. And to us, it's going to come down to if Minnesota can limit the run here. You saw it work last week with Nebraska. They were held to a pretty average 4.5 yards per rush, and they've been around that for most of the year, but Minnesota only allows 3.8 yards per rush this year. Gonna be an interesting battle here, but with the way both of these teams have been trending, we'd have to lean Minnesota here. And next, it's the game for the Heroes Trophy, Nebraska at Iowa. Speaking of the Huskers last week, they looked phenomenal. Their new look offense with Dana Holgorsen got the job done, and now they face their biggest rival, Iowa, who has been, well, Iowa. They've got essentially no quarterback and no passing game, but an amazing back in Caleb Johnson, an amazing offensive line, and a great defense. Should be interesting to see how both teams look in this one. And then it's old-fashioned hate, Georgia Tech at 7th ranked Georgia. Georgia Tech has already pulled off one big upset this year over Miami just a few short weeks ago, and they have the opportunity to pull off an even bigger one against Georgia here, who has been susceptible to upsets this year. When the defense is playing down and Carson Beck is pressured, they're a very beatable team, and with Haynes King back in the lineup for the Yellow Jackets, really anything is possible. And now let's jump to the games Saturday, starting with Cal at 9th ranked SMU, a new rivalry. This is a huge game for a number of reasons, the first of which being that SMU needs a win here to secure a conference title berth. If not, they are in the whim of the college football gods this week, and they're going to be facing a Cal team who, while shaky this year, has been playing very well late. They've won 3 of their last 4, but they'll face the biggest test this season playing on the road versus 9th ranked SMU here. Now let's look at the battle line rivalry, Arkansas at 21st ranked Missouri. This is looking like it's going to be a good matchup. The odds are in Missouri's favor here, but Arkansas is definitely a team who can put together a quality game and steal a win here, especially if Taylon Green is on point. Either defense is probably going to need to force a turnover here, or else this may just be a pure shootout. Neither defense is amazing, but that just makes this one all the more interesting to us. And then it's the game for the Shillelagh Trophy, Notre Dame at USC. The Trojans become bowl eligible last week in the battle for LA against UCLA, and now they get to face their toughest opponent this year at home in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The defense will have their hands full with Riley Leonard and that rushing attack, but they've been looking at least a bit better in recent weeks alongside Jaden Mayava as their new starter, so don't sleep on this one. It could end up being a nail biter. Now let's look at Oklahoma at LSU, a new rivalry in the SEC, and we like this matchup a lot, especially because of where both of these teams are at right now. LSU started off the year strong, but have been sliding since their win over Ole Miss in the middle of the year, and Oklahoma has done the opposite. They throttled Alabama at home last week, and now they're facing an LSU team who is completely beatable. Should be very interesting to say the least, especially if Arnold and Nussmeier can get it going with their arms in this game. And last, it is the border war, Washington at 1st ranked Oregon, undefeated Oregon. Not as great of a matchup as the past couple of years, but this rivalry never fails to impress. We're going to be keeping our eye on Jordan James here. We think he could open this one up and have a huge day for the Ducks, which will most likely push them across the finish line at 12-0 on the year. Still got to remember though, anything can happen in a rivalry game. And now let's jump into our big impact predictions, starting with the game, Michigan at 2nd ranked Ohio State. They don't call this the game for no reason. This game should be a ton of fun. If you're Michigan and Sharon Moore, you're looking to potentially end Ryan Day's career in Columbus this week with a win to extend the winning streak to 4 in a row over the Buckeyes, with what would be technically Sharon Moore's 2nd win over Ryan Day as a head coach of the Wolverines. But for the Ohio State Buckeyes, you're looking to flex your muscle here. That defense should be able to keep that offense occupied in this one, and it's just a matter of getting that ground ground game going and hitting Egbuka and Smith when they get in open space, and you should be able to pull this one out. But we'll hammer it home here. It is a rivalry game, and not just any rivalry game, the rivalry game. Anything is possible. And now let's look at the Country Music Bowl. 8th ranked Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Not sure if that's actually the rivalry name, but I like it, so that's what we're going to call it. And this one is actually very interesting if you just look at these teams' records. Tennessee's only 2 losses this year have come on the road against Arkansas and Georgia, and Vanderbilt is a very respectable team at home, 4-2 at home, with wins over Virginia Tech, Ball State, Alcorn State, and Alabama. One of those teams is not like the others, but we like Tennessee here, obviously. That defense has been playing very well, and Doak, Walker, snub. Dylan Sampson's going to be playing pissed off. Should be an amazing game for him. But if you're a Volunteer fan, a Diego Pavia home game should be at the very least very, very worrisome here. And now it's the Big East Bowl, Miami versus Syracuse. Also not sure if this game is even called that or if anyone's ever even called it that, but we like how it sounds, and there's a lot of interesting applications here with the conference title odds. But we want to talk about the quarterback battle here. This may be the best we see this year in terms of numbers. I'm just going to read them out to you so you can get the full picture here. Kyle McCord leads the nation in completions and attempts, leads the nation in total passing yards, and leads the nation in passing yards per game. And Cam Ward leads the nation in passing touchdowns, leads the conference in adjusted yards per attempt, and leads the conference in passer efficiency rating. This has all-time quarterback duel written all over it, and we can't wait to watch it. And next, it's the Iron Bowl, Auburn at 13th ranked Alabama. If you are Alabama here, you might just be quivering in your cleats because Auburn is still very much alive. They are coming off a huge win over Texas A&M that destroyed their postseason dreams, and they're looking to do the same thing against an Alabama team who got BTA from Oklahoma last week, a team that's around the same level as Auburn this year. And then you get the added effect of this game could single-handedly clinch a bowl game for the Tigers and completely destroy Alabama's postseason hopes here. This one should be very exciting. We personally think Alabama should be out no matter what after that loss to Oklahoma, but the committee is the committee, and if you're Auburn, that's all the more reason to give it your all in this one. And next, let's look at the Lone Star Showdown, 3rd ranked Texas at 20th ranked Texas A&M. This is yet another enormous game this week, and for Texas, you've been skating on thin ice a couple times this year, and in your biggest game of the year to this point, you lost pretty handedly to a Georgia team that hasn't been a world beater, and you have the opportunity here to solidify yourself as the top dog in the SEC. But first, you have to go through a Texas A&M team who has also struggled at times this year, but who's going to be revitalized by that home environment at Kyle Field. Both of these squads have had their moments, but most importantly, both of these defenses have been able to come through this year. It'll be a big day for both of those units, especially if the quarterbacks can get it going, which isn't a guarantee, but will make this matchup one to keep your eyes glued to. And now it's Farmageddon, 24th ranked Kansas State at 18th ranked Iowa State. This is a huge matchup in the Big 12 that could decide the fate of a number of teams in that conference. I don't know if you guys have seen all the different scenarios for the conference title bids, but go ahead and take a look at those. It's truly absurd. But in this game, the main factor for both of these squads will be the rushing attacks. Both of these teams have been at their best when their running backs are holding onto the ball, but don't sleep on the quarterbacks either. Rocco Becht has been very dependable late this year, struggled a bit last week, but did end up getting the win secured. And while Avery Johnson hasn't been outstanding lately, we know what he's capable of when the lights are at their brightest. Should make for an interesting battle. Defensively, we'd probably give the edge to Iowa State here, but offensively, we may lean the other way, especially if Avery Johnson gets it going early, so there really is a lot to watch here. And for your game of the week, as always, you guys voted on it. Be sure to hit the community tab and vote for your team and player of the week after the week as well. It is the Palmetto Bowl, 15th ranked South Carolina at 12th ranked Clemson. What an important matchup this is. Like we talked about in our last video, this game has the potential to send one of these teams to the playoff while keeping the other one out. A couple more things need to happen, but those stakes are the highest this rivalry has seen in years. And for the Gamecocks, you're going to need to keep playing with the confidence you have been. When Sellers is hot, he looks like a top guy in that conference alongside Rocket Sanders, alongside that defense, which has been keen on disrupting their opponent's quarterbacks, who for Clemson is also the key here. Your defense will give you opportunities. They'll at the very least keep you in this game, and it's all up to Klubnik, who has been mediocre when the lights are the brightest, it seems. He's going to need to be on point, be airtight with the football, no turnovers, good reads, a few big throws, and you should be just fine here. And for your players to watch, it's going to be the defensive ends for both teams, and it's Kyle Kennard for the Gamecocks, 20 tackles this year with 16 tackles for loss, 11.5 sacks, a pass defense, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. And for TJ Parker of Clemson, it's 23 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, a pass defense, and 4 forced fumbles, 2 backfield records, 2 game changers for both teams in this matchup. And now let's move on to our upset watch with our good buddy Todd. Everybody say hello to Todd. Thank you. First, we're going to look at Georgia versus Georgia Tech, who is a 19.5 point underdog. Like we said earlier in this video, Tech has been upset-minded all year. Brent Key has really gotten that program to a place where they can, at the very least, compete with top teams and even beat top teams. He's done an amazing job this year, but we think Georgia's in a good spot all around. They'll play at home. They're coming off back-to-back wins, and that defense is going to be far superior to that of Georgia Tech. But this is Todd's segment, and he'll have this one at a 4 out of 10 in the cool zone. Now let's look at Notre Dame at USC, who is a 7.5 point underdog. This is a great matchup with the added effect of it being played in the Coliseum, and we know exactly who Notre Dame is. We know what they're going to want to do and how they want to play, but for USC, that isn't that clear. There's a lot of unpredictability at play here, and with that, Todd has this matchup at a 7 out of 10 in hot territory. Watch out for this one. And last, it's Oregon versus Washington, who is an 18.5 point underdog. This should be a relatively easy day for Oregon. Me and Todd both agree there, but coming off a poor performance a couple weeks ago against Wisconsin and heading into the Big Ten championship game, there is a possibility that Washington catches Oregon sleeping here, which would be absolutely insane, which is why Todd has this game at a 2 out of 10 in the cold zone. And now let's jump into our big impact predictions, starting with the game. We do not expect the game to be a game at all this year. One of these programs is on the cusp of potentially competing in and maybe even winning the national championship, and that team is not Michigan. They have been struggling to find any real identity on offense as a whole this year, and because of that, we have Ohio State winning this one 31-10. Next, let's look at Tennessee at Vanderbilt. This has a lot of looming upset potentiality here. Like we said earlier, if it was a night game, the electricity would be through the roof on this one, but we have faith in that volunteer defense and the run game to be able to explode for some big plays and generate a couple turnovers here. So give us Tennessee to win this one 24-21. And next, let's look at Miami at Syracuse. Like we said earlier, this could be the quarterback battle of the century. We could be looking at upwards of 700 total passing yards and anywhere from 6 to 10 passing touchdowns scored in total. But in a shootout, we will always favor the Miami Hurricanes with Cam Ward, maybe even a potential Heisman moment game here for Cam Ward, with the final score being 45-34. And then it's the Iron Bowl, Auburn at Alabama. Boy, oh boy, what a game we have here. On paper, we'd say Alabama in a landslide, but Alabama has not been Alabama recently, especially not last week, so nothing is certain in this matchup, but what is certain is that Auburn has not played well on the road this year, in conference at least. Got the win over Kentucky, but dropped pretty big against Missouri and Georgia, and for that, we'll go Alabama here with relatively low confidence, 27-20. And now it's Texas at Texas A&M, Lone Star Showdown. Texas has not played great on the road this year, apart from their Week 2 win over Michigan, and a lot has changed since then, but their defense has been playing better. The offense has made it work at home versus Kentucky and Florida, but that Texas A&M defense has been able to put the hurt on teams at times this year, especially at home, and after last week, we'd be stupid to have the Aggies to win this one, so call me an idiot because we have the Aggies winning this game 27-24. And last in the big impact matchups, it's Kansas State at Iowa State. Like we said earlier, Kansas State may have the better offense all around in this matchup, but if you're a fan of the channel, you know we're all about the defense, and we think Iowa State's defense has been better than the Wildcats this year, so give us Iowa State to win this one and potentially go to the Big 12 title game with a final score of 30-27. And for your game of the week, South Carolina at Clemson. We love this matchup a lot. It should be an absolute defensive masterclass with some huge moments from both offenses sprinkled in. Neither of these teams has a clear advantage here. Neither is going to have a big weapon that they can exploit over the other, and that leaves us in a bit of a pickle, but that's what we have Todd for, and with his help, we've determined that the final score of this game will be 30-28 with a walk-off field goal to give the win to the South Carolina Gamecocks. They win the Palmetto Bowl for the second time in 3 years, and they are potentially headed to the playoff. And thank you for watching. As always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe, share with everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving weekend, that is. On this Thanksgiving, we're thankful for you, and we'll be even more thankful if you like and share this video with all your friends. Be sure to do that, and be sure to tune in after Rivalry Week to see who wins that $100 and for the Rivalry Week recap. Try saying that 5 times fast. But thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one.